It is the year 2119. The megacorporations hold New Europe in their grip under the nominal leadership of Hansor Innovations. The metropolis spanning AI Gaia keeps the peace, keeps the atmospheric processes going, keeps the wheels of economic prosperity rolling. In theory. But the gulf between theory and practice in the 22nd century leaves a lot to be desired. And from the secret and not so secret bases around the continent-sized city, mercs of all temperaments try to claw something, anything, back from the forces and circumstances arrayed against the folks on and under the streets. Welcome to the near-future dystopia of the Gaia Complex. The European dream is no more. Maybe better to say a European nightmare has come to pass, though not in quite the way skeptics of the early 21st century envisaged. At least with the border walls and scorched earth, there's no more immigration, right? Welcome to the legacy of the resource war of 2038 and the syndicate conflict of 2080. To the 6-metre-high concrete and steel barriers surrounding New Europe. To the soaring towers that somehow manage to keep the toxic air at bay. To a corpocracy of simmering resentments in the name of capitalism. To a metropolis of neon and rubble that stretches nearly 1,300 kilometres from what was France to Poland, from northern Germany to the foothills of the Alps. To a standoff between robotic law enforcement and those just trying to get by in a society of near-perpetual violence of some stripe. Hello, and welcome to Hint Plays. I'm Chronomagistrate, aka Anil, and I'll be your games master for today as we start a brand new campaign. Hint Plays is a channel for RPGs and tabletop gaming of many stripes, featuring players from Hobby Gamers International, a convivial conclave of folks from around the world. We generally run games on a 3-week rotation with a varied cast of players and GMs, along with occasional specials, online board games, evenings, and general chats about gaming. Tonight, I am joined by 4 wonderful players, including Druttercup.
Hello.
Nightbites.
Howdy.
Saragel.
Hi.
And Shard Angel.
Hi.
So, this evening, we are starting on a new campaign called Connect the D.O.T.S. I am envisaging this as a long-running campaign with games to be played on and off stream as we are able to. And this is set in the world of the Gaia Complex, a setting and system from Hansor Publishing, a UK games company. The Gaia Complex is billed as a darker cyberpunk setting, where corporate greed and environmental destruction have pushed humanity to the brink and forced its confinements in 11 sprawling city-states that have somehow managed to struggle on. The game's main themes revolve around conflicts arising from violence, hardship, conspiracy, and corruption, and the value of knowledge. Oh, and there are vampires. Folks familiar with the channel may note that we play a lot of cyberpunk, or at least talk a lot about cyberpunk settings, and we want to also show you that there is a wide breadth in the genre. So we played Cyberpunk Red, we played Eclipse Phase, Coriolis, and now this one. Folks playing somebody normal in Cyberpunk. But before we start the game proper, there is a bit of housekeeping we do need to do. So, this is my first time running the system and the setting, so please bear with me if I don't immediately know a rule or have to go and look something up. This will be especially relevant when we come to things like combat or hacking. Basically, the idea isn't here to be rules perfect, but broadly to keep the story and action moving as necessary. There may be little interludes or lulls as we do things, and also I am getting back into the habit of running a game. I have been a player for the last few years, so I may be a little bit rusty on the running front. Secondly, this is a dark and violent setting. Unpleasant situations and descriptions may arise in the course of the game. If you as a viewer ever feel uncomfortable or feel like you need to dip out on occasion, please feel free to do so at any time. No stigma or anything related to that. On that front as well, The players and I have done a thorough safety briefing prior to the game start, where we ensured we were aware of what boundaries and limits we have, and the sorts of directions that this game can and cannot go. All players filled out a safety and consent checklist, and we discussed this at a session 0. If folks are interested in that checklist, we can see about making it available as a resource down the line. We are also using various safety tools, including the X system and lines and veils for certain topics as they may arise. My aim is that if this game were a movie, then by the American movie rating standards, it will probably be rated as an R as opposed to an NC-17. It's not seeking to be edgy or include gratuitous themes of any kind for the sake of such. There are also certain things that will not appear in the game or campaign as a whole, which includes direct harm to children, sexual trauma or violence, real-world religions, although elements of such may persist in 2119, systemic or institutional racism, homophobia, transphobia, sexism, and the like, although certain individuals may be prejudiced or bigoted. And welcome, Raiders, as coming in just as I do the content warnings, with a very apposite phrase, I guess.
I'm not sure that these particular raiders need the content warning, given where they come from.
Yeah.
Maybe our raiders should come with content warnings.
Fair, yes. Okay, so, yes. Also, cancer, on-screen and direct involvement in arson or explosions. Those are the things that will definitely not appear in this game. For those of you just joining, welcome. We are about to start a game of the Gaia Complex, a new system and setting for me to be running, and a new long-term campaign for this channel. Mooses, don't worry. I would strongly suggest, though, for those who are interested, to go back and rewatch the start of this so that you can get an idea of what this game is going to be and what it is going to be like. Well then, if we are ready, then, and we are all sitting comfortably, yeah? Did I include the brothers Meredith in the content warning? No, I probably should have done. Content warning, Ben and Tim. Yeah. Isn't that just a standard, though? Anyway, right. I hope volumes and such. If anyone does have any issues with audio, or so, please do let me know, and I will try and adjust as I can. So, if we're ready, then we shall begin. This is Chapter 1, Took a Midnight Train. The rain comes down in Luxem Sprawl as much as it ever does. It's itchy. It's grimy. You can't see the sky as ever. Some of you may have ventured higher than, the 10th floor of an apartment building or such, and maybe you've got a glimpse of something grey that isn't a cloud. But for the most part, you live your lives in twilight shadows and in grimy humidity. You have all been summoned this day to meet your handler. You are all mercs. You all work for a mysterious person known only as the Butterfly. Who they are, you don't exactly know. No one knows. Their name is whispered, even amongst the gangs of the Luxem Sprawl. What you do know is that they are one of the top gangs. You are working for one of the best, even at the low levels that you are. They are one of the 5 leaders, for want of a better term, who controls a part of the vast underground complex of tunnels and bolt holes and effectively the underground city that has sprung up beneath what was Luxembourg City's haute ville back in the day. But nothing of the Grand Duke's palace or any of the riches that once there were in this scenic principality no longer exist. It's all rubble, it's all neon, it's all grime and dust and dirt and violence. So, you have been called in to see your handler. His name is Vanda. Three of you reside on in a safe house, a safe complex beneath the ground, where where three of you have apartments. However, one of you doesn't. One of you is coming in from the outside, from somewhere else in Luxembourg. Demon.
Yes.
We focus in on you. The camera pans in from somewhere around the 5th floor to focus on you. How do you get from your let's start. Where do you live? What is your residence?
Demon lives in what is endearingly known as a studio apartment. Hers is compact and bijou, but comes with an unnecessary number of locks on both the doors and windows. And she's been assured that the glass is bulletproof. So that's a good thing. She has this on her own, and she travels generally, either she gets a lift off a friend, or I'm going to be digging into what the state of public transport is.
So, public transport in this area isn't too bad. Most of the area of the Luxembourg that at least you deal with, as I say, is underground. Old metro tunnels that have been enlarged, and similar to the way that like Montreal has an entire like underground city. Most of what was Luxembourg City on surface is rubble. Underground is where all the life is. The Luxembourg is also known for where you go if you want illicit cyberware. It is one of the hack job capitals of New Europe, or the hack job centres of New Europe. Hack docs, cyber docs have many clinics here, and where they are, in inverted commas, safe from the watchful eyes of all-seeing Gaia. But in terms of the public transport, streets are narrow. You can get taxis. They are relatively inexpensive if you are not moving very far. There is a public transport system, but the metro is mostly for going district by district rather than short stops.
If it's not too far, she will actually walk.
I mean, up to you. How far do you want to be from, at least from the entrance? So the underground of the Luxembourg has five entrances kind of dotted around the. We'll call it district. It's a city-sized district basically, but New Europe is now one massive conurbation. It's hard to tell. There's no green space anymore. The only green space that is left, the only green space that is left in the entirety of New Europe is under a giant glass dome to the west of what used to be Hamburg, and is under the very strict control of Hansor Innovations.
Okay. She is happy to walk a mile or two.
Okay.
She wears very practical DM style boots. She eschews what she has seen some fools wearing, which is attempting to be hard in heels. That's far too much effort and far too ridiculous a situation. And yes, I am finding the character, and what of it?
No, that is eminently sensible. As you are walking to the gate that you know of, which is in what is laughingly called a strip mall, where the emphasis is on the strip, being as there are plenty of establishments of negotiable affection, shall we say, in said shops that do reside above it. You do see a lot of folks who don't eschew that style. Mini skirts, high heels, flashing neon jackets advertising wares on folks of all genders as you pass them on your way to...
Demon is remarkably low-key in her dress. She tends to favour a blazer-style jacket with internal pockets, also with just enough external pockets for her to be able to thrust her hands into when she feels like looking sulky. She carries a backpack, but she doesn't have any overt cyberware. She has a neural frame with the appropriate ports, but they are under her hair, and she tends to, similar actually to me, she tends to have it brushed over one side. So her neural rig is concealed under that, and she has no other external cyberware whatsoever.
Okay.
She doesn't look like she should be a merc. She looks like somebody who's fairly well dressed, black leggings, black bottoms, and a dark brown suit / blazer style jacket, frequently rolled up just over the elbow.
Okay.
And a backpack.
And you approach the somewhat innocuous looking kind of like XXX video shop that you know passes for, in inverted commas, the employee entrance into the butterflies section of the underground city. Anybody who isn't part of the gang, as it were, would be expected to go by a more public route through the middle of the arcade. But you are on the in here. You are known, and so you enter, as I say, what is ostensibly a XXX bookshop, but you know better for the front that it is.
Yes, she will cast a glance at the shelves as she heads past the videos and any publications. It's sort of not in a professional interest, but just out of general aesthetic interest. Just keeping up with trends.
Yeah.
What they're wearing now, people will be wearing in a few weeks' time.
Probably.
Or a few months.
And you push through the inevitable beaded curtain to the dust.
I swear to God, if anything's going to survive the apocalypse, it's that and the bloody cockroaches.
And enter a dusty back room, a storeroom, where a familiar heavy-set figure of the guard, who you know by the name of Pox.
His parents hated him.
Well, I mean, you don't know if that is his given name or such, but he's got this like very rough, overly large cyber armor that you can see is bolted onto a bunch of steel plates reinforcing his shoulder and left-hand side.
It just looks uncomfortable.
Oh yeah, very much so. This is not a professional. This is not well, in inverted commas, professionally done.
Hack job.
Yeah, it's it's also, as I say, overly large. It's designed to be intimidating. He nods. You are as nodding acquaintances,
Okay.
and he pushes back the gate shutter to allow you access to the elevator to descend into the tunnels below.
She will give him a sweet smile and greet him by name and thank him for opening the door for her.
Welcome, demon. Vandercall, then.
Work, work, work. On the other hand, it beats the alternative.
He glances over your shoulder at the curtain and the shop beyond. Yeah, and just nods you through.
Okay.
You head down.
Okay.
This lift comes out not far from the safe house, and you basically emerge into an access tunnel that then leads out onto. Think of the London Underground. Actually, no. Think more of the New York transport system. And that tunnel, but like 3 times the size. That has been kind of like adapted into a high street market, like thoroughfare.
Okay.
There is what was probably once tracks running through here, but they have been concreted over not very well. And the tunnel, you can obviously see, has been inexpertly widened.
Fair enough.
But various shops and stalls and folks have set up both house and storefront in this, as I say, what passes for effectively for one of the main thoroughfares in your area of the sprawl.
Okay.
What was I going to say? Yeah, it's noisy, it's grimy, it's very warm.
She will head through. She doesn't avoid anyone's eyes. She doesn't keep her head down. She walks with the confidence of somebody 6 inches taller and about 50 kilos heavier. A stiff breeze, frankly, could blow poor demon over. But she believes in big hat. And she will greet people. She will meet eyes as she goes past stall holders. And if she sees anything of interest, she will briefly pause and have a look. And she is generally smiling and friendly.
Okay. Is she visibly armed?
Sorry. Let me just check. I just need to check how big her gun is. Because she does have a gun, but it's crap. That's a technical term for I have no money left and I want to be armed. That is a Western Brig Disposer Cal, which I have a feeling is an SMG. If it's an SMG, it's in her backpack. The only thing she is visibly armed with is a knife.
Okay. So is that at your belt or something? Yeah?
That's on my belt, yeah. It's back of the hip. She doesn't go out of her way to conceal it because why would you? But she doesn't make a big feature of it, front and centre.
Well, what weapon did you say?
Western Brig Disposer Cal. I am looking up my page references now. Because I'm a fool and I didn't do it before when I was collecting my gear.
The Maxical is a submachine gun. Oh, Disposacal, yes. here we go.
Disposacal, yeah.
It is a handgun.
Oh, it is the handgun.
It is the handgun, yes.
Oh, and then in that case, no, she's got a holster, but it's in the small of her bag.
Yeah. Though made for the civilian market, the weapon has obvious benefits to the modern merc, being made entirely of plastic composite. It's easy to melt down, and as the weapon does not need registering like other firearms, they can be purchased in retail, used for nefarious means, and disposed of with minimum risk.
And they can't be reloaded.
Yep, you have 8 bullets. In this
What I have is friends who have bullets.
with any luck. So, you...
That's questionable.
Yeah, as I say, you hope so.
Well, let's put it this way. I'm nice to everybody. I am pleasant to everybody.
Mhm.
And if anyone else is watching and getting freaked out, then that's entirely on you.
You make your way to the entrance of the safe house that you know where your regular companions, your work colleagues, where your crewmates reside, hang out, and where you acquire the jobs that you are sent on from the Butterfly. You reach there. It's a relatively innocuous steel door with a very large double set of with a double keypad that you know you have to have 2 sets of codes that rotate frequently in order to access. So you input those and you get through 2 sets of heavy steel doors, an access tunnel that you know, whilst you can't necessarily see any guards, you know what the security precautions here are like.
Yeah.
Whilst this isn't the residence of the Butterfly themselves, you know that they take the safety of their gang. They rate the safety of their gang pretty highly. That's why they engender a degree of loyalty that you don't generally see in gangs of New Europe. You emerge from the security tunnel into a reasonably sized foyer, kind of like relaxation area where various members of the crew are known hang out on their downtime and so forth. It's kind of like got a sunken lounge area with a couple of large screen TVs blaring out whatever the media channels that Belvoir and so forth want to advertise to you today. Most of what is shown on there is from glitzier parts of New Europe, such as New Berlin or Paris.
That would be nice.
More chic, whatever passes for chic in this time, areas. Beautiful people in beautiful clothes, under beautiful lighting, with a lifestyle that you could only imagine.
It's fine. I don't need that kind of luxury. I mean, obviously I want it, but I don't need it. Yes, I quite like Demon. She's fun.
So, we will leave you in the foyer for the moment, as we move over to we'll move over to Corax. You have your rooms in this space.
I do indeed.
It is one of the larger safe houses belonging to the Butterfly, and you know I mean, all four of you will know. It generally relates to crews who do business for the Butterfly in the northern part of New Europe. So in the area of the Luxembourg itself, further north going through to Bruss, and east towards, and west towards, southwest towards Paris, and the more rural areas of the metropolis in western and central France. You got the call on your computer device, however people get in touch with you, your comms device, saying that Vanda, who is your main handler, wishes to talk to you and the crew. You've got about an hour before you have to meet them. What's your routine? What would you do at that point?
I've got about an hour to get to the meeting. How long is it going to take me to get there from here?
10 minutes max. You've got basically a small studio that is 1.5 rooms sort of thing.
Then I shall head to the meeting point, and while I wait for the remaining 50 minutes, I shall take flight with Alba and get some freedom.
So when you say take flight with Alba, what are you doing?
I'm going to meld with Alba and go for a flight, a little bit of freedom from everything around here. So Korax will go to the meeting point, sit down, get comfy, get safe, and then do what ferals do and become the bird.
So, where is Alba at this point?
Being my companion, mostly somewhere not too far from me in the first instance. I like to keep them close, if only so that no one's going to randomly shoot them.
So is Alba within the base?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm probably well known as being my pet.
Okay. Yes. So one of the things that is different about this system or this setting compared to others is that in the wake of the Syndicate issues of 2080, when the corporations were fighting for control of New Europe following the UN's total and utter collapse, is that two new subspecies of humanity came out of the shadows. The first being the ferals, folks who had a strong connection with the animals that remained, often being able to utilize the senses of the rats, the cats, the feral dogs, which did remain on the streets of New Europe, and more exotic animals as they returned, thanks to the efforts of Saffron Corp. The others were the vampires, folks who had a desire, you could say, a very strong desire to integrate themselves with the remaining parts of humanity. And
integration, that's a new term for it.
Well, given that there are several vampire-run corporations now, and thanks to the sterling work of Vectron Biomed in creating a synthetic blood substitute that the majority of the vampire population partake of, and don't need to, indulge in such base feeding as actually biting a human. Things are, on the up and up. I mean, we'll ignore the gangs in the outskirts, the ones pushed to the very edge because they don't have to worry about breathing the toxic air at the border wall. So that's why you will find a lot of vampiric gangs on the outskirts of New Europe fighting for territory, for survival, much the same as those with the hardscrabble life who have been pushed away from the big city districts of Munich or Paris or Luxembourg or so forth. So yes, Arlo, Corax, you have Alba with you nearby.
Yep.
Yeah, the folks in the base will know Alba, know of your connection to. Is it her?
Yes, why not? I hadn't
Okay.
actually decided, so yes, why not her for Alba?
Okay. Know of your connection to her and know that when she takes flight, you are probably in control and know to let her out via one of the side entrances.
Cool.
So,
Thank you.
how far are you going to go? Are you going to is she going to go above ground or stick to the local tunnels?
I've got a fair amount of time, so heading above ground, I think probably. Although, no, I'm going to stick to the tunnels because I don't want anything untoward to happen and have to dash out to assist or interact. So staying in the tunnels is safely just getting some air beneath my wings.
Okay.
Beneath Alba's wings specifically.
I mean,
enjoying the sensation of it.
well, there's definitely no wind beneath them, so you stretch them and stretch your senses as Alba wheels her way through the tunnels. And yeah, the air is muggy, it's grimy. You're well used to all of this, but it still leaves your feathers feeling a little bit uncomfortable. You're never. It's that sensation, and it's heightened when you're in Alba's mind. That you're never clean. Like, it's hard to be clean generally, but it's exacerbated when you're in Alba's mind. And so yeah, you fly through the tunnels. It's a little awkward at times. The bigger tunnels, if you stick to the main thoroughfares, it's fine. You can soar above the stalls and the shanty housing as you can. If you decide to fly off the main routes, then obviously tunnels become smaller, they become narrower, they become less tall. And
definitely going to be sticking to the main tunnels where there is more space to keep above people's heads and out of people's way more specifically.
Sure.
Don't want to spook anyone, have them suddenly start flailing, and that then gets into all manner of kerfuffle that we'd like to avoid.
Yeah. You do notice, obviously, that Alba does draw looks. It is unusual to see a bird of Alba's size down here in the tunnels. The folks closer to the base obviously have seen her before, but the further you go from the base, it becomes more and more of a novelty. You do obviously get the odd the odd person who like feels like they could take a pot shot at her, but at least in the areas of the Undercity where the butterfly holds sway, there are such actions tend to be frowned upon, and if any of the guards who are nearby, because the butterfly does have patrollers, they will tend to come down and dissuade anybody who does actually fire. And that's mostly like anybody who discharges a firearm down here will often get paid a visit. If not immediately, then at some point in the near future. That's not to say that there aren't disputes and fights and fracas, but they tend not to be gun-driven, if you get my drift.
Indeed, thank you.
So yeah, you saw around with Alba for a while, and it's on like the return route that you see, or that Alba spots. Actually, would Alba spot Demon heading towards the base? What's Alba's perception?
That is a very good question. But I didn't copy down the stats you gave. 1 second.
I just read up what meld skill actually does. Because obviously, like, I've read the book cover to cover several times, but in the heat of the moment, I can't remember where
Yeah.
anything actually is.
I'm very familiar
Well,
with
it
that.
works.
Meld. Where are skills? Right.
The way that I read it, you're basically experiencing the world through the senses and limits of the bird itself. Your consciousness is there, but you're using the stats of the bird.
Yep.
Yeah. Meld. Okay. Meld on page 85.
So perception is 8.
Perception is 8. Okay. Just run through.
And they have the awareness skill.
They do.
As a speciality, no
Yeah.
less.
You said that 8 perception is 8. Did you say?
Yep.
Okay. You said Demon
Yep.
was not making any particular efforts to be stealthy.
She is not making any effort to be
Yeah,
stealthy
okay.
whatsoever, no.
Yeah. So yeah,
Just striding along.
Alba spots Demon making her way towards the base as you're on your return arc.
Okay, I'm not going to risk spooking Demon at all. So continue the flight, see if there's anyone else on the way in, and then return.
No, yeah, Demon seems to be the only one approaching the base at this time.
Okay, I will give a cursory look to see if anyone is tailing Demon at all, just in case there's anything unpleasant in the offing.
Best of luck to them.
8. 8 with an awareness speciality.
Yep.
No.
Cool.
That's
In
fine.
which case, yeah, absolutely. As I said, just do another lap and then fly home. Well, fly to the base, should I say?
Yeah. Alba returns via the same route that she exited, is readmitted, and you return to the meeting room that Vanda has requested for you. We move now to Serigil, to Silver. Likewise, you have accommodations on base. You get the message on your comms device that your handler Vanda wants to see you and the others in approximately an hour in one of the meeting rooms. How do you spend your hour or such? What do you do in the meantime?
So you said it's about a 10-minute walk?
Yeah, you have rooms near the others as well.
So he spends the next 50 minutes, maybe 51. He doesn't mind being a little bit late.
Mm-hmm.
Tinkering on some cyberware.
Mm-hmm. What are you working on? What's your current project?
Currently, a cyber leg.
Is this for you?
No, he likes to keep a store of various finished bits that he can install as and when is needed for other mercs. Uses lots of scrap that he finds, so his room is fairly covered in wires, bits of metal, things that look like junk to other people but are treasures to him.
Mm-hmm. So I'm guessing the sort of thing that leaves very, very little open space, no flat surface uncovered.
Absolutely none.
I feel judged.
What about the bed? Does this include the bed?
There is, he's fairly slender, well, fairly average size. So the one half of his single bed is still covered with cables running the length of it,
Mm-hmm.
so that he can slide into bed, not move a muscle all night, and somehow get his customary 4 hours of sleep.
Fair. And what about the rest of the room? What does the rest of the room kind of look like? Are there any personal effects? Is there anything to suggest of Silver's life beyond his work?
No. You would think of it as more of a storeroom than somewhere someone lived.
Ah.
He has very few personal effects, and everything is the cybernetics.
You're the kind of person who throws himself into their work.
Yeah.
Okay.
He doesn't want anything personal around him.
Mm-hmm. Do you operate entirely from here on commission, or do you have, say, a stall or a clinic that you operate from or utilize?
I was thinking of him as more of a mobile cyberdoc.
Ah, okay.
So it's a as need to know basis. You know, you find out about him from word of mouth.
Mm-hmm.
He's happy to have people come around for cybernetics if they wish, but it's going to be a bit of an awkward one.
Mm-hmm.
And he does have a case with his equipment in as he needs, so he can travel.
Ah, have laser will travel sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. So you spend most of your time tinkering and working on this thing. Yep, the 51 minutes pass, and then you head to the meeting room.
Yep. Bit of a
Okay.
mad dash.
Yeah, scramble through the corridors. Actually, Demon, how much time did you allot? How early or on time would you have been arriving?
She wants to get there early to show some respect,
Mm-hmm.
but she wants to get there no more than half an hour early.
Okay, not a problem. So we move to Vault. You also have your rooms within the safe house. Likewise, you get a message from Vanda on your comms device. You have an hour or so to kill before you are needed in the meeting room. How do you spend that hour?
Well, when I get the message, I'm actually outside of the tunnels
Ah.
with Ash, my raven.
Mm-hmm.
And
Because you too are a feral.
I too am a feral.
Mm.
You have to clean up after yourself.
After reading the message, I pull out a small bundle from a pocket, which is basically some cast off wires and some shrapnel of one form or another, and offer it to Ash, who grabs it in their claws and flies off to find one of their hidey holes for their shiny bits that I give them regularly.
Mm-hmm.
And I will head down into the tunnels
When you
very
say
slowly.
when
Oh,
you
go
said
ahead.
sorry, when you said you were outside of the base, were you above ground?
Yeah, above ground, outside of the actual
Mm-hmm.
entrance.
Okay, so you too make your way through to the CD bookshop that comprises the employee entrance or the gang entrance to the Undercity. Uh, how early or such?
I will get there exactly on time, fashionably proper.
Okay.
Um, the thing is Vault has basically a club foot. Her
Ah.
right leg is twisted to the side and slightly oversized. The joints don't work properly, so she walks on a cane. Um, the cane has a raven hood curved into it, but she has it with her all the time. She also wears a long greenish blue trench coat, a pair of cargo pants that tries to cover up the disfigurement, and a t-shirt sporting logos for one food brand or another.
Okay.
In terms of weapons, they are not hidden, but they're not obvious. Um, the pistol is holstered where her left hand can reach for it, and the dagger is along one of her thighs.
Okay. So yeah, you pass through the bookshop and
Hobble.
pass through the beaded curtain, and you see Pox is on duty
Hey,
at
Box.
yeah, good walk.
Usually a good walk. It's nice when no one's chasing me.
He
You
nods.
having a good day yourself?
Can't complain.
No, I guess you can't. You work for the right people.
Indeed. You've been called in then.
Indeed. Pretty sure the rest of or some people that I work with have probably been called into. Seen any of them yet?
Demon came by a bit earlier.
All right. Good to know.
Yeah. He bats the gate to a side and lets you pass through. You descend and come and exit out into the same thoroughfare tunnel as I had described for Demon.
Hmm.
Do you make your way directly to the base?
I'll give it, like I said, just the right amount of time
Sure.
so that I show up when I am supposed to be there. But I will stop and actually have conversations with this vendor or that vendor,
Mm-hmm.
trade simple information, general friendliness, polite, not overly eager.
Sure.
I mean, my allure is 9, so
Yeah, people warm to you as much as anybody does in this
Mhm.
environment. As I say, the traders and such this close to the entrance and to the base are pretty well known to you all. They are often people who, if they aren't directly working for the butterfly and the gang, are in very good standing or have been offered protection.
Yeah.
They are the people higher up the pecking order, as it were, in terms of having prime position for things. And you also know that people's folks' standings and whether or not they have a stall here or not is also a reasonable sign of how well they stay in favour with the gang or the butterfly or their lieutenants. So you make your way through to the base, and you again faced with the double coded lock. You go through and head towards the meeting room. Now, since Demon wanted to arrive about half an hour early, 20 minutes, 25 minutes early, you enter the meeting room, and you see Korax is already there. Their eyes glazed over in the familiar form of the Meld, so you know they are absent. But for the benefit of those watching, what does Korax look like?
At the moment, as generic and unassuming as entirely possible. Were this a different game, I might be tempted to say something akin to Bag Lady Chic, but certainly not clothes that would be eye-catching at all. Fairly sort of dirty, well worn, but warm, thick, heavy-duty street clothes.
Okay, you're dressed for the environment, basically.
Very much so. Yes, very much so.
Are you armed, or are you visibly armed?
No visible cybernetics. From when looking at from front, no, not visibly armed. No, tell a lie. You can probably see a blade hanging from the belt, but that's about it.
Okay. Any other physical description you want to give?
So Korax is, I think I said mid to late 20s. Cultivates a less than well kept look, but is purposefully so.
Right.
Tries to look as able to blend in with the crowd as at all possible. Generally has tries to be as anything that is not eye-catching. So there's almost nothing unique about the way they look. Very, very bland.
Okay. Demon, you're obviously familiar with Korax, and presumably you take a seat and wait for
any coffee around here?
There is a vending machine in the corridor outside. It sells what passes for coffee.
I shall take my chances then.
It is, brown. It's liquid brown.
Liquid brown, is that the name of the actual?
No, it's just what you call it. It's
it's a caffeine delivery system, and that's as far as I'm willing to push it.
Yes,
she will go and risk that.
That's caffeine spelt CAFFEEN.
Yeah,
but
yeah. For slight context, Demon has brown-black hair, brown eyes, and has somehow managed to maintain a slightly olive skin tone, derived from her ancestry in Sicily. She is very Italian-looking, somehow. Cosmetics are fun, despite the lack of natural light. Yeah. And she has retained the genetic hatred of vending machine coffee.
I mean, LED grow lights aren't just for plants anymore.
Exactly. No, this is it. She's sat under those at home.
Mm,
Sunglasses.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, all the food is synthetic in some form or another. There are natural food growing areas. Hydroponics and such is a big deal in New Europe. We're not quite in the everything is processed kibble of, say, Cyberpunk Red.
Hey, not everything, just most things.
Yeah, fresh food is slightly more available than it is in that setting, but not by a huge amount. Like, you will know that there is a hydroponics garden here in the base as well that will supply certain fruits and mostly vegetables, mushrooms, that sort of thing, for the base's inhabitants at a price, or as part of your, the upkeep that you pay for your accommodations on base. Recycle water and such. The base is, like, the safe houses here are very well run. The Butterfly, as I said, does invest in their people.
Makes sense.
It's not quite Fremen stillsuit levels of water reclamation, Arrakis levels of water reclamation, but most of the water in this base gets recycled in some form, and so forth. So yes, you avail yourself of the refreshment, as the next to arrive is Vault. We've mostly had your description, but is there anything else you want to add as you enter the room and find Korax and Demon there waiting?
No, not really. I mean, she's pretty average in build. You can't really tell because she wears bulky clothing. Very pale features because there's no sunlight, and doesn't use a tanning bed like some people.
How old does she look?
She looks probably in her early 30s. She's about 29. She's got really, really dirty blonde hair cut in a pixie cut of a sort. But otherwise, there's no cybernetic that you can tell or see. She's got, an earpiece in one ear, but that's the only thing that seems technological about her bearing.
Honestly, the three of you in a cyberpunk setting, and barely an implant between you three.
I couldn't bloody afford it. Do you know
Likewise.
how much neural frames cost?
Yeah.
Do you know how much a neural frame with a rig costs?
Yeah.
I'm playing a feral, and cybernetics are bad for
I also, most of my money actually went on programs. To be fair, I have
That's
a
fair.
lot of programs that, well, I don't have a lot. I've got a wish list on a separate file of programs, about 6.
We've got our own cyberdoc in our pocket, so like if we really need to.
Yeah. And
it would be hilarious if Sarah Gill was actually fashioning that leg to try and convince me that I need a replacement.
I would never.
And speaking of your resident cyberdoc, a few minutes after you enter Vault, Silver comes kind of like stumbling in a bit of a hurry, pushing the time limit. So, Silver, Serigel, what do people see as you enter the room? What does Silver look like?
Silver is in his early 40s. He's about 5'11". dark hair that's greying at the sides. The first thing you'll probably notice is the cyber arm. He wears a long coat, which he has ripped at the shoulder, so you can see the arm. It's chrome. He likes to put out quite a mean look, even if he doesn't have much to back it up. And he carries a case with a rig in it, and other various bits of cyberware.
Nope,
The arm, if you
no, carry on. Sorry.
The arm, if you are looking carefully, you'll notice that there is something on the elbow, and that would be a retractable blade. And if you knew what you were looking for on his hands, you will also see that it is capable of tasering people.
I see you went for the proper cyberpunk
I
character.
did. I
Well
really
done.
ran with it.
Yeah, for you.
I was like, stereotypical? Me?
Go for it.
Yeah, no.
The taser knife. Gotta love the taser knives.
I didn't have enough money to make the armor bright color, so I might do that once we get 200 NEC.
That's a point. We had starting money to spend for gear and such,
Yes.
but that was very much a use it and lose it.
Yes.
How much do we start with for the characters?
How much you start with the characters? I think you do get a starting allowance. Let me just double check.
Use it or lose it. I used all.
I
Yeah.
used every single last penny.
For the purposes of anybody watching who may be familiar with the setting system, I also gave them a bonus. So rather than 3,500 neck, they started with 5,000.
It wasn't enough. It was not enough.
It's never enough.
Never enough.
I wanted a cyber arm. I couldn't afford it.
Let's see, character creation rules.
I mean, I think it was enough for me. I got everything that I wanted.
I wanted more toys.
I wanted more toys. The thing is, I've set Demon as will not use anything hack job, just because that's Demon.
Oh man.
So everything I want for her has got to be the higher end stuff, and my god, that's expensive.
Ooh.
What I do for role playing purposes.
You just had to pick a posh character that doesn't have the money to be posh.
That sounds. I wouldn't know what that is either.
No, you wouldn't.
CF, the Cyberpunk game. So yes, after you all have 250 neck in cash starting as we start the game.
250, right? Okay.
Yeah. So for those of you who have accommodations in the base, that's basically your next month's rent. Is all you have got. For you, for Demon, since you are living off base, it is slightly cheaper, but not a huge amount cheaper. I believe your monthly living costs are 150 neck.
I haven't double checked, but that sounds about right. Basically, I'm paid up to the end of the month, but after that, I'm going to be, I don't know, knocking people over the back of the head and nicking their wallet.
As are you all. So, with Silver's arrival, the four of you are grouped, once again reunited. The four of you have done jobs together in the past, probably not for a couple of weeks. You have been off on your own devices or on other jobs with other crews. So this may or may not be the first time you have seen each other for about a month. So.
Missing you already. Hello. Lovely to be back.
So you're coming in?
Yes. I did wonder.
Is Alba with you here in the room on her return?
Presumably still on her way in, but ferals can be aware and interact and communicate. They just can't physically act.
Yeah, he's just basically laying
Sat
there
here,
with
eyes
his
wide,
eyes
just
rolled
talking.
back. Yep.
No, that's fine. That's not disconcerting at all. Do you have
No.
a pair of sunglasses?
Absolutely not.
You
Why
think
would
that
I?
you'd
Why
be
would I need sunglasses? We don't get any sun.
And I'm tempted, while you're lying there with your eyes rolled back and being generally creepy, I'm just tempted to roll over and just do the eyelids closed.
Yeah, the sun is something you've all read about. You've all heard about it. None of you have ever seen it.
how have you not gotten used to this by now?
You hear stories, all right? You hear stories of something called sunburn. I want to experience that just once. It sounds lovely.
Okay.
I mean,
I mean, you can probably get the same experience of sunburn by walking out into the atmosphere that is toxic to your skin and your lungs.
you don't know the difference between sun and gas, do you?
Burns are burns.
Philistines. I associate with Philistines. Besides, I've seen pictures. I have seen pictures. People lying in open air with a weird colour sky.
Waiting for the sun to irradiate their skin and give them cancer.
Obviously. I mean,
That seems counterproductive to survival.
yes, and because dim gloom is perfect.
I think that it is a great place to exist in. It's better, it's easier to hide things in this.
Looks down at the outfit. You need to hide. The only person you know who polishes her DMs. She's got the shiny shoes.
All the better to see your reflection in before she kicks your face in.
Exactly, yes. Or she sticks a taser knife up your nose.
Mm-hmm.
Or, more importantly, before the piece of electronics you're standing next to explodes suddenly without warning.
Ah.
Well, maybe
As if-
one day one of these corporations will have some sort of tech on the line to open up a hole in the clouds for you to see the sun for a moment.
Oh, one can but hope. I'll be there, and that's why we have sunglasses. For that hope.
I thought most people just use sunglasses to either look fashionable or
Exactly. This is it. Hope
hide
is
that they're
fashionable.
high.
Yes, well, that's entirely their business. But I think it's a combination of hope is fashionable, and this is why people wear sunglasses, also to conceal when they're talking to their little pets, because
Why
that's
would you want to
disconcerting.
conceal that?
Well, yeah,
For the rest of us who find it slightly odd when we see the underside of your eyeball a lot, that
Yeah,
can't be
well-
comfortable.
this is their
That
way
sounds
of
like a you
communicating. Yeah, they're
Sorry?
they're communicating to us
No,
that they are
neither,
busy.
Sorry.
That sounds like a you problem.
That's a me problem. It's more my pure empathy that you must suffer from dry eye. That you mine maybe drops some sort of thing, just to keep everything nice and moist.
I take it Demon is a regular connoisseur of the Belvoir fashion vids
Yep.
that blare out from time to time.
Absolutely.
We may not have Paris Fashion Week anymore, but whatever passes for its replacement.
Yes. Yes, she tends to watch with the volume down so that she can comment properly.
Of course.
She critiques.
Yeah.
Within a couple more minutes, Albert will be in the room, and I will return to having normal-looking eyes.
Okay.
And I'll give Albert a treat.
Sure. About a few minutes after Silver arrives, the door opens, slides aside electronically, once again, and a tall, dark-skinned gentleman enters the room in a very well-cut brown suit. You can see that the faint traceries of cyber wiring adorn his cheeks and his forehead, leading into a large, bright, purple cyber eye that dominates his the left side of his face. You can see that it also, the wires kind of like run through to the ear and round the back. He has long green hair, not entirely unlike this, but it is where it is long and reaches like halfway down his back. It has been braided with what looks like copper bandings every couple of inches holding it together. And as he moves, you can see a row of about 4 chip ports running down the back of his neck.
That's just showing off.
This is Vanda. This is your handler, the person who has been giving you your missions over the last few months. You know that he's a well-respected but middleman in the gang's organization. Not a lieutenant, but he generally reports to the lady whose name I have forgotten, Valerie Gillem, who is one of the Butterfly's primary lieutenants. Thank you for coming. He looks around. Volt, what's your bird's name again? Ash, was it?
Ash, yes.
Okay. Is Ash with you as well?
Ash is taking a small break. Don't be with me when we leave.
All right. And so he basically nods at all 5 of you in the room. You do also note, Korax, that he is respectful towards Alba. And pretty much treating her as one of the team as well. Well, the Butterfly has a little job for you. Hopefully it won't be too arduous, but there is a little problem that needs sorting out up in Charlotte. There isn't a local knowledge skill in this, is there? Let me just double check this character sheet.
No.
Oh no, it doesn't have the skills on it.
There's a streetwise, but that's it.
Streetwise. Yeah, you know what? Who has the skill streetwise?
I do.
Okay. Volt and Demon. What
I do too.
What skill does
I
it
have
run
it
off?
too.
Ah,
Yeah.
Excellent. What
Yay.
skill does it run off? What
Guts.
attribute
Guts.
does it run off?
Guts.
Okay.
Shit.
We'll play this.
That's not a skill.
it is if you're a bird.
Good point, actually. I've seen Birdemic. They weaponise this.
Okay.
Yes, mirrored cyberwise. Call for about 5 minutes until the pet raven comes through.
Right. Okay, since you all have Streetwise, does anybody not have guts at 4 or higher?
Mine's 8.
6.
5.
7.
Okay, cool. In which case, you all know that Charlotte is a district, is a relatively industrial district between here, sort of like halfway between here and Bruss, which is the next biggest part of the metropolis north of you, Bruss being where Brussels used to be, unsurprisingly. And it's known for what's generally called recycling, or at least construction recycling. It is a district where they basically comb the ruins and turn the material into usable materials for elsewhere in the metropolis. A lot of the area between here and Bruss is still ruined debris fields. It hasn't been rebuilt or is looking to be reclaimed by corporations, obviously, because housing is in very short supply as the population starts to grow again. Although, obviously, this being New Europe, you're not quite as cramped as London Edge, one of the other metropolises, which has about 22 million people crammed into London and the southeast.
Sounds about right.
We're not quite that bad as yet, but
You've not been to Planet Risk, have you?
I mean, the population of London at the moment is only just about 8 million.
Yeah.
Even though it feels a lot more.
Our characters wouldn't know any of that, though. That's just
No.
color text.
That is color text, yes. But what you do know is that, the area between here and Bruss, until you get to like the outskirts of Bruss itself, is lower population density, and mostly in the midst of being reclaimed by construction companies.
Right.
So that's what you would know with that level of streetwise. There is a logistics office, a branch of TMP. TMP being 12 Morton Peak, one of the big corporations. They are primarily known for construction. Most of the construction that happens in the big, I'll call them cities, but sub-cities of New Europe, will be handled by TMP. They are also known for their somewhat heavy-handed approach to both construction and tenants. Let's just say the word brutalism applies to both their construction methods and their ethics. There is, Vander continues, there is a logistics office that is proving to be a little bit of a nuisance. We have heard that they are also due to be in receipt of some chemicals that we would like to get our hands on. The job we have for you is to go and pay them a visit. Let's say make sure that their operation is out of action for a bit, and if possible, to secure those chemicals. For this, you will each be paid 500, and should you also manage to retrieve the chemicals, 100, an extra 100 each.
What are the chemicals, and how much of the chemicals are we talking about?
Size-wise, it should be small. Packages of vials. As far as I'm aware, they are additives for concrete. Used in the right way, they can strengthen it. Used in a different way, they can destabilize it. It would be very useful to have some in our possession.
Do we know exactly how much?
No, that'll be for you to find out. Basically, however much they've got, we want.
That's a shame. If you want some of their operation out of commission, we could use some of their products to destabilize the buildings. And we put them out of commission for a while.
You are, so long as we get some, you are authorized to use whatever, to whatever means necessary.
Do we know if the chemical needs to be applied to the wet concrete as the building is being built? Or is it something that can be used retrospectively to cause problems?
That I don't know. I'm not an engineer.
Fine.
It'll just take a little bit of research. We'll figure it out.
Yes. Marvellous. Okay.
Any other questions?
What sort of opposition are we looking at?
Again, unknown, but it is not... This is not a big office. Two-story building as far as I'm aware. It's a branch, but it is TMP rather than one of their subsidiaries. So you can probably expect a number of heavies, and whether or not there are any actual construction engineers there, I don't know.
Right. And what's the time frame on this? Do we have a deadline?
No, there is no deadline. No. You're free to make your approach as you see fit. I would suggest that you don't take too long about it, however, because the chemicals might be moved.
Or used.
Indeed.
Fair.
I'm glad you got that.
Look, I mean, I'm not saying that that might be a code name, but you never know.
Brutalist, heavy-handed construction, Constructicons.
Yep, I was deliberately not going there, and you just saw it, went for the goal. Straight through. Okay. Right.
Well, how do we want to go about doing this?
Well, if if there are no further questions, then I will leave you to your planning.
Okay, we just need the exact location of the office.
He transmits he pulls out a tablet and transmits to whatever communications device you are using a set of basically think Google Maps with a pin in it.
Right, okay, that's going straight into my mind's eye then, since I'm assuming he's going to send straight to my neural frame.
Yeah. These are all local. These are a lot sketchier than Google, than what we would have as Google Maps and such, because no satellite network that you can get in touch with anymore. There is limited cellular communication from what satellites do still work, although cell reception can be a little bit. I know you were going to say towers. Yeah. So yeah, booster towers do exist through the thing, but again, they're often tacked onto like the atmospheric processing towers, and so they are also prone to cutting in and out at inopportune moments.
Yeah, interference is a thing. Quick question: how big are drones? And if you say how long is a piece of string, I will be most peeved because it's not in the rule book, and I'd just
Oh, is
like
it
some
not?
kind of.
It-
No, they're described as compact, but I've seen drones of reality, and they are literally anything from sort of this big up to I'll just move my sofa instead.
I think when it comes to how big they're, it's mostly what their function is. So like a surveillance
Yeah.
drone is probably going to be smaller, have a lower profile, so it hides better.
I'm so
Whereas
glad you said that.
whereas a weaponized drone with any form of gun or not is going to need to be bigger to carry the weight of the ammunition, etc. So it's going to be a larger drone.
Yeah, I mean the SECDs are equipped with a mini Western Brig mini cal,
Yeah.
so
So like
there's a limit on there.
Yeah, given the
But-
size and given the road, like like I'm guessing the like the Western Brig Sec D is what, like yay wide at least,
It's
and
got to be, yeah. It
probably
has to
probably
be.
a good like 2 foot maybe across, and
Yeah. I mean, I'm
eight
packing,
inches deep, kind
Yeah,
of
I mean, I'm
in
packing
height.
a surveillance drone.
Yeah, they
Um,
probably fold up a little bit more compact
Yeah.
than when deployed. Let me see.
That explains why you ran out of money.
it only costs 450,
Eh,
but I've also got the add-on that lets me control it via my neural frame instead of having to use
Yeah,
the big plunk.
because the control device is a two-handed thing.
My
Yeah,
surveillance drone only costs $200, and I just got to give it trinkets.
yeah, but mine actually records images.
Mine hides information.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
but
it says
That
so.
would
It says
explain a lot.
it says the Sec G, which is the miniaturized version of the D on
Yeah.
wheels, is a remote-controlled car. I mean,
Holy shit.
for the purposes of the viewers, that's what the
Oh,
Sec G looks like,
oh,
and that's not too
bless.
dissimilar from a Sec D.
That's in hardware, isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah, I was going to say because I'm looking
hardware
page 193
in the core book.
main
Yeah.
rule book. Yeah.
Mhm.
Let's have a look at the other drawings. I just thought
The
I would
hard-
query before I started.
Yeah, like they're
Asking
not.
things.
They'll be operating relatively silently.
Mm-hmm.
They're not like the loud drones that you will hear in current era. But yeah, like we're talking about a profile that is about 2 foot across.
Okay.
Right, is it the THD surveillance S you've got?
It is in the other rulebook. Hang on. Yeah, THG Surveillance S. Yeah.
Yeah, I bought one of those as well. I'd assumed it was kind of backpack sized.
That's pretty much what I've got in my backpack.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the most expensive things I own that isn't inside my head. And as a result, that's what I figured. I really wanted the SpyX espionage drone, and then I looked at the price, cried quietly, went back, and dropped down a level.
Yeah, that's possibly one for a later acquisition when we actually have
yes.
some rep and some creds.
That might be one to actually steal off someone else.
Or that too, yes.
Okay, at this point, since you have no further questions for Vanda, I'm going to suggest that we take a little bit of a break because I could do with getting a hot drink, and I dare say chat as well could do with a bit of a stretch and such. Hope you're all feeling all right at the moment.
Yeah.
Folks are
Yeah,
good.
yeah, enjoying
Cool.
this.
In which case, yeah, let's take a little bit of a break.
10 minutes?
And yeah, come back in about 10 minutes.
Okay.
That gives us a chance to refresh our drinks and such. Yeah, self-care break for everyone.
Cool.
Okay.
You
And-
get self-care, and you get self-care.
In the in this day and age,
In this economy, yeah, good luck with that.
Cool. We will see you all back here in about 10 minutes, folks.
Yep.
If anyone
See you
does
then.
have any questions or such, please do feel free to put them in chat, and we will do our best to answer them when we return, or in the meantime. So see you in a few minutes.
Nope, nope.
Hello and welcome back to part 2 of session 1 of Took a Midnight Train, chapter 1 of our new Gaia Complex campaign, Connect the Dots, or Connect the D.O.T.S, whichever. I haven't settled on a proper way of saying that as yet. And hello, Beck. So, when last we left our erstwhile protagonists, they have just been given a mission to venture out from the undercity of the Luxem Sprawl on behalf of their crew, their gang, their employer, the Butterfly, to pay a visit to a TMP logistics office and, mess up their operations and possibly steal some chemicals while they're there. Okay. So while we before we go into the actual planning phase of this, in inverted commas, heist, because what classic adventure would this be if I didn't give you a heist to start off and get familiar with the rules and the system? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Plus, like those who are familiar with me and the way I run games, I often start folks in media res, so in the middle of a chase or in the middle of a fight. But I feel as we're easing ourselves back both into a new setting and a new system, letting us find our feet first is probably more appropriate. One thing I did want to do is to elucidate things for the folks at home. What are your roles? What part do each of you play in this team that has been put together? Drut. Oh, you are muted apparently. Oh. I had us all on mute. Oh,
Oh no!
We are now a proper campaign.
I was hoping to avoid that in the first session. Wow. Okay.
Oh, I think it might still just be Drut though. I don't
Yes.
think it's all of us.
I wasn't
Possibly
muted.
was-
Right.
but we were.
So
Oh, okay.
everybody heard what I said, so at least that's fine. I don't have to repeat that.
Oh, that's
Thank God
fine.
for that. Okay, right, that's a step. Yeah. Okay. So, Demon is
I've
a core
had a busy
hacker.
weekend.
Yeah. Demon is a core hacker. The core is an accumulation of multiple systems working as one, wherein lives the central AI that rules the entire setting, unofficially. But it's the system that knits everything together. So it's not so much the internet as it is.
It's like it's like a subnet. It's like it's more like what the internet was prior to it becoming a non-military tool.
Yeah, it's more like the DARPA net.
Yes,
used to be.
It's what runs. It's what runs the corporations. It's what keeps the corporations running. It's what keeps the banking system in particular running.
Yeah, there's two ways that you can hack things in Gaia Complex. You can hack people through their systems, or you can hack data from the core. And I skew towards the core because I can't do people yet.
You think you can?
Well,
No, I really can't. I have a friend who does people.
I was referring to the people thing, like talking.
No. She occasionally does people, but
No.
that came out wrong.
the,
But yeah, basically,
the only
she-
the only biohacking is with a knife.
exactly, yes,
Yeah.
literally. So yes, basically she is a get in, get out with the data, and she can combat. She's she's pretty good at combating things like ice and watchdogs and
Mhm.
defensive programs. Just please don't ask her to do much in the way of fighting in person, because that's not her job.
That's fair. Yes, as Fish said, it's the internet, but not the World Wide Web.
Yeah.
So
It's pre Berners-Lee.
yeah. So there are information repositories on the internet. There are on the net, but or rather the deep core, as it is called. But these are often locked. These are often repositories held by the various corporations and closely guarded, which is why the core hacker exists, to ferret these things out, to make sure that someone else's secrets become theirs. The power of information.
It's to clean out all of the junk and clutter. It's helpful.
It's valuable.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, one person's help is another person's hindrance, but who's to
Exactly.
say? But yes, so you had a question about the general internet.
Yeah.
That is something I will need to delve into the details a little bit more. But at least there is a surface internet. There is a World Wide Web of sorts, but it is very local. So, and very little is getting. It's mostly a place for, what would be inverted commas script kiddies to play. We're talking almost back to the GeoCities style of media, and this is you would know, Demon, that this is a situation that has kind of been encouraged by the corporations, particularly Belvoir, that they have no real interest in there being a functional internet, because they want to push
to air gap.
Yes, but also they want to push media consumption back towards television and billboards and can we get you in front of a screen in a way that doesn't involve you being able to run off somewhere else.
Yep.
That may change as I read more or more information comes out, but that's what I'm going to say for the time being.
Okay.
So and by World Web, by World Wide Web, you mean citywide, because there's no connectivity between.
Well, yes. So, as for the folks at home, yes, in 2077, all communications between the various metropolises, the 11 city-states that remain, ceased.
Seriously, in 2077?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. Not a coincidence, I feel.
2077, all communications between metropolises ceased. 2079, the UN peacekeeping forces in New Europe start to come under heavy attack. 2080, the UN completely disintegrates, and New Europe is left, and the other metropolises are left to the hands of the corporations.
Yeah, it's fine.
So yes, so you're not. So that's why I say that there are a couple of functioning satellites, but what reception and such you can get from them is extremely patchy, and that's not what telecoms basically relies upon.
Okay. So we're better dealing at the moment, doing our research on site with drones and voidies.
Yeah, like there is depending on the kind of information you are looking for, there may be like repositories or such in like on the net for you to look up, but it's not like you can go to Wikipedia, for example,
Yeah.
and look up something like that.
No, that's
You'll
fair.
probably have to find somebody who is a specialist or who has that kind of knowledge if you are going to find out more about things.
Okay.
Did you want the rest of us to introduce our roles as well?
So that's Demon as the core hacker. Knight, what is Korax?
So Korax is a handler, which is a feral specific role in that they specialize in their connection with their companion animal and use that for various aspects of what they do within the Merc unit. And that varies from handler to handler. Some might have a dog and be very combat orientated, or something even more ferocious than a dog. Korax is far more surveillance orientated, using both a surveillance drone and, obviously not at the same time, the barn owl for surveillance operations. There is an advantage in that the barn owl can be used to fight. They have a combat capability. But on top of that, Korax also has a number of skills that might be useful on site, especially on a gig like this, in terms of acquiring and redistribution of items that don't necessarily belong to the right people at this time.
Love that. So, Serigel, what role does Silver have to play in this party?
Some might say medic.
Oh my god.
Some, they'd be a bit wrong. Cyber docs are, I think, technically illegal.
For the most part, hack jobs are technically illegal, yes.
So he can implant you with all manner of cybernetics. I've gone for slightly more. I have some weapons, but slightly more control, more than flat out guns. There was the option to have a machine gun put in the arm. I decided against it.
So yeah, for the purposes, yeah, cybernetics on the whole are while they are prevalent, probably not to the same extent as they are in, say, CP Red, or what you may see in CP 2077, the video game. They are obviously a booming business in the world of Gaia Complex. The police force, or what passes for the law enforcement in New Europe, is entirely mechanized. This is following cyberware enhanced law enforcers and peacekeepers that were on the streets previously, which has led to enhanced individuals now being out of a job, much to their chagrin and to the detriment of folks around them. So that's why there is a lot of resentment against the robotic police force, unsurprisingly. But it's also that mercs won't necessarily be able to afford the hospital treatment that executives of the corporations would have in having their cyberware fitted. So this has led to a booming market in cyberdocs and hack jobs, being able to do things on the cheap, although for varying amounts of cheap and access to equipment. And Vault, Shard, what role does Vault have to play here?
Vault is a data dealer, or data dealer, however you want to pronounce it. Basically,
Data darling.
Basically, information is power and currency, and data dealers are the ones that handle keeping the secrets, selling secrets, finding secrets, and using that for their advantage or to gain rep. I'm a trader of secrets and lies.
And differentiating between the two takes a fine intellect.
It does. It's also one of the only roles that a feral can do well outside of being a handler. Being a combat specialist or a hacker of some sort requires things that are limited with ferals.
Yeah. So that is what we have to work with. We have a group that isn't going to go in guns blazing, he said. I hope. I don't feel that this is a group that goes in guns blazing.
Apparently, only 2 of us have guns.
I mean, it could be an option.
Corax does have a gun. It's just in the back of the belt.
Okay,
So
fair.
not exactly seen when seen from front on.
So
and hidden behind the trench coat.
You have been given your mission. How do you wish to approach this? What do you want to do? How do you go about this?
I agree with physical surveillance of the office itself. I'm hoping that you can find some contacts of your own. Dang it, names. I wrote them down somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Probably. So, Demon, I'm hoping that you can either find a contact that can get you information for how to hack into their database for the employees that work on site, and I can go off and find information on them to help disrupt anything going on there. Maybe even find some information that we can use to get other corporations involved in trying to take them down. But we do need to do physical surveillance as well. I just know I'm not going to be very quick about doing that.
I mean, when it comes to it, I've got a drone. I can fly over, take a gander at the situation, track the ins and outs. We've got to move quickly, otherwise, as Vander said, the goods are going to be in and out before we've acted.
Yeah. I've got a surveillance drone too, so we can get a full image of the site and cover all the ground twice as fast. Question. Any chance of opening the right file? Sorry. I managed to close my character sheet.
Yeah.
Any chance of making use of, say, programming to combine 2 video feeds into one coherent image? Or building a 3D model rather from 2 video feeds?
Let's have a look.
Because then we can send your drone, my drone, both halves of the site.
Yep. Downside of having 2 drones in air at the same place at the same time, double the chance of being seen.
Yeah. On the other hand, upside, only one of them is likely to be seen at any given.
Hopefully.
Fingers crossed.
So.
It's too expensive to replace. That's what Zoom was invented.
So are you looking to modify? This sounds like you're looking to basically write your own software.
I am, yeah. As I said, I've got the programming skill.
You do. So you're looking to write software that will combine 2 video feeds into one. So basically, you're looking to take the data sent to each of the drone control panels.
Yeah.
And what link them on one of those, or get them sent to somewhere else?
To extract that data and use it to build a 3D render of the area they have overflown. 3D map.
Okay, I'm guessing you've got a tablet or some kind of
rig.
computing
Neural.
device
That's what the neural.
on your neural rig. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what the neural rig's for.
So you're going to do it that way. So you're looking to take the data feed. So you're looking for the control units to send you the data feeds to your neural rig. And
yeah,
so that you can then combine them into.
Well, the data feed will be recorded on Korax's remote for his.
Mm-hmm.
For that, but for theirs, and straight to my head for Demon,
yours,
because
okay.
she's got the add-on
Right.
to her neural frame.
Okay. And then
I can use the remote, but I don't have to.
Okay, right.
Hands-free.
Neural frames. What neural frame do you have?
MVI Pro KL neural frame. It's the one with the built-in rig.
Yeah.
That sounds expensive.
That sounds like where did most of my money go, to be fair. 1,700.
Yeah.
Cost more than the owl.
But it was that or a neural rig separately to. So I wanted a neural because I didn't want an external rig, and that's the only option really for a built-in. Well, I say only, but only in my price range. The next one up is 6,500.
It's a big step.
Big old thing.
I'm guessing with the owl, you started with the bird of prey template and adjusted accordingly.
Chrono built it and told me how much it was going to cost me.
Okay.
The owl is so very Blade Runner. You're going to do a thing.
Are you looking to output that model anywhere, or is it just going to be your mind's eye? Yeah.
Allowing